Can ADHD cause erection problems or even premature ejaculation? So a guy comes into my therapy practice. He's in a newish relationship, he's very much attracted to his girlfriend, and his sex drive is super healthy. But he's having difficulties in the erection department. He loses focus during sex. He's fine for a few minutes, and then his mind starts to go to other places. Work, what to eat later, and random mind pops. Bits of songs or even Pokemon characters apparently can pop into his mind. And it's happened before. He gets into a new relationship, and it's all good for a couple of months, and then focus issues and disappearing erections, and then the stress and the bad vibes and the apologising that goes along with that. It's not a coincidence that he has a diagnosis of ADHD. Did you know that on average, people with ADHD have higher sex drives, but also a higher prevalence of sexual difficulties, including erectile dysfunction? We're still getting our heads around ADHD. And we're learning more about how ADHD can complicate sex. Distraction, lots of thoughts running at the same time. It figures that we could lose focus, leading to loss of erection or difficulty reaching orgasm. It's like when guys who want to last longer deliberately think about work meetings or sports teams or, unsexy random things during sex. This distraction can slow things down, but sometimes too much, and they lose their erections. So with ADHD, it's a similar thing, but it's not a deliberate choice. It's running automatically. And there's a tendency to get bored easily. And I think we're seeing that here too. A relationship starts off super hot, and then the novelty wears off quite quickly. And the ADHD partner needs more stimulation and variety. So losing focus, boredom, not being able to stay aroused. But that's not all we see with guys with ADHD and sex. The opposite can happen too. Take this recent study where 48 married men with lifelong premature ejaculation were assessed for ADHD. 20 of them, that's 41% of these guys, were diagnosed with ADHD, whereas in the general population, it's estimated to be more like 5% of people that would get that diagnosis. So ADHD is a factor in early ejaculation too. But why would that be? Because men get bored and distracted and then they just come too soon? No, it's probably the flip side of ADHD, the hyperfocus on an experience. Guys can get so wrapped up in the sex that they lose all sense of control. They don't realise that they're close to coming until it's too late. Now, we can all get carried away and overwhelmed by sensations and pleasure during sex. And a big part of learning how to last longer is finding ways to stay more grounded, more present. But with ADHD, the entrancement can be more difficult to step back from. And that's one of the misconceptions about ADHD. It's all about being fidgety and having a short attention span. So a better way to think of ADHD is a dysregulated attention system. Focus can be fragmented, or it can lock on to an activity pretty much to the exclusion of everything else. And this hyperfocus might be deliberate. ADHD people sometimes choose to focus in order to push out the distractions. And it can also happen automatically. This tendency to hyperfocus can be a gift in other realms of life, fixing complicated code or working on a project, for example. But it's not so helpful during sex, when we do need to be able to change up and down the gears a bit. So the challenges can go both ways with ADHD and sex. Too excited, not excited enough. Reaching orgasm way too quickly, or taking too long. And that fits with our growing understanding of ADHD as a neurobehavioral condition with a spectrum of symptoms. Now, even the name, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, it's not really that helpful, because it's not a deficit of attention, it's variable attention. And this presents both challenges and gifts in navigating through life. And of course, women with ADHD can experience this spectrum of sexual experience too. Some women with ADHD have difficulty with desire, arousal, and difficulty reaching orgasm. And others experience an extremely high sex drive. And it's worth noting that another aspect of ADHD for men and women is heightened sensitivity to rejection. And this can add an extra layer of emotional distress to any desire or performance issues, because we all have the potential to feel hurt, apologetic, or rejected after disappointing sex. And this can be turned up to the max for people with ADHD. So communication, is key here. So what can people with ADHD do to address some of these things? Medication is usually the go-to, and it's usually some form of stimulant like Ritalin, Concerta, Adderall. Now, they stimulate the parts of the brain that help regulate attention and behaviour. These meds can help balance out our concentration and our impulsivity, and some people find it helps with sex too. Their desire and ability to get into their sexual groove, it might go up, or overly high sexual excitement might reduce to a more manageable, controllable level. But things can also go too far the other way. So it's a bit try it and see with these medications, and seek your doctor's advice if you're considering that. What else can we do? Mixing things up sexually, having plenty of variety, because that's good in any relationship, and especially when a partner has ADHD. Different positions, places, scenarios, fantasies, that can all help keep us focused and into it. That said, keep a good old missionary position in the mix, because some sex therapists say that this really helps when our partner is right in front of us. We're less likely to get distracted or get Pokemon mind pops. And as people who struggle to reach orgasm are often advised, making that extra bit of effort, letting go, vocalizing, gyrating, going into porn mode if you like, that can sometimes help push us over the threshold. And then there are toys and vibrators and gadgets to help with this too. And something I've noticed working in sex therapy, even if ADHD might not be the direct cause of a sexual difficulty, it can get in the way of working on it. The rejection sensitivity, for example, that can make us overly self-conscious or worried about opening up in front of our partners and sharing our struggles. And sometimes I think the perfectionism and the overthinking. Now, I've spoken with guys who come up with really well-intentioned, elaborate plans of all the things that they're going to do to overcome premature ejaculation or up their sexual game, mastering a whole bunch of techniques for lasting longer and boosting their stamina, but it wasn't doable because it was a huge undertaking and a massive ask of their focus. They got bored and frustrated pretty quickly, and they couldn't stick with any of it. So just be mindful of that tendency and work alongside your partner. Maybe see a therapist to help keep things doable and realistic so you can start to make real progress. So I hope this has been helpful, and a shout out to the ADHD Adults podcast, which covers all aspects of ADHD in a really awesome, entertaining way. That's linked in the description. Thank you for watching.